to you all, and thank you so much to Sensei Kathie, who's here. I don't know, I think you're seeing me up on the camera here, and Kathie, can you see yourself on the screen here? It's like you're sitting right here.
I can.
Sensei Kathie is usually with us for spring practice period in person, and we've missed your presence and are nonetheless so grateful that you could be with us tonight and share some of your experience with Vasubandhu. I love reading your bio, Sensei Kathie, because often people will say, "Oh, you got started in Dharma so young." To me, at like 25, and I'm like, "Yes, but not as young as Sensei Kathie." So, Sokaku Kathie Fischer was ordained a Zen priest at San Francisco Zen Center in 1980 and received Dharma transmission in 2011. She began her formal practice in 1971 at the age of 19 while studying Buddhism at UC Berkeley, where she completed her undergraduate degree in Buddhist studies. Were you reading Vasubandhu back then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So I've been reading Vasubandhu for 50 years or so. Kathie practiced and worked at Tassajara and Green Gulch Farm Zen Centers from 76 to 96 with her husband Norman and their twin sons. And during that time, up until her retirement in 2016, she took her practice to school, teaching science to 7th graders in the Mill Valley Public Schools. Lucky kids. So now Kathie enjoys reading and studying our Mahayana tradition still through the original sources, and which have provided the foundation for Zen practice across many centuries, countries, and languages, including this text, Vasubandhu. And so thank you so much, Sensei Kathie. We'll begin with the verse before Dharma talk.
Well, good evening. I'm so happy to be among you to the extent that I am in the Upaya spring practice period. And I see many dear friends. Hi, I don't see Munchin, but you're there somewhere, and Shinzan, Kodo, and a few others that I know. Anyway, it's great. It's great to be in the Zendo, or to feel that I'm in the Zendo.
It's great to be in the Zendo. Sorry, we missed a little bit at the beginning there.
You did? Oh. Well, I'm just happy to be here. That's it. Happy to be with you. Happy to be in touch with Upaya, even though I can't really touch it. And yes, I have been doing spring practice period, and now I'm not, but I miss it, and I will be back in the fall. So, and I would like to extend my gratitude to all of you who support this practice and work through Upaya Zen Center, especially to Roshi Joan for your vision and tireless spirit of good work and encouragement to just keep showing up year after year, crisis after crisis, lovingly tending all beings, seen and unseen. And to those who work behind the scenes, performing miracles on a daily basis, miracles that often go unnoticed. We're all held by angels of all descriptions, by each other, as we do our best in this life. May it be so. So this evening, I'm going to talk to you mostly about Ben Connolly's recently published book, Vasubandhu's Three Natures. I think you probably have it there, but it's green, and it's Vasubandhu's Three Natures, and it's his latest book on Vasubandhu. And as a matter of maybe just as a note, when I was going to school at Berkeley in Buddhist studies, I specialized in Chinese, and Vasubandhu was, in Sanskrit. So I never actually read him, and I learned about him, but I didn't focus on him. I focused on Nagarjuna, who is, I'll mention a little later in the talk, somewhat related to Vasubandhu in a way. So Ben Connolly's book, The Three Natures, he's done wonderful work on these fourth century important writings, bringing them to us as clear, helpful, and practical guidelines for practice. And that is no simple task, to take something out of the 4th century and make it important and useful and available to us. That is no small feat. So a bit of history about Vasubandhu and his half-brother Asanga. So they lived in India in the region of Gandhara. He was a towering genius, one of the greatest Indian Buddhist scholars of all time. He studied extensively with the Sarvastivadins. So the Sarvastivadins was the largest, probably the largest school of Indian Buddhist school at that time. There were something like 17 different schools at that time, and Sarvastivadins were probably the largest. He wrote the Abhidharmakosha, which is a large encyclopedic treatise on philosophy, theory, and practice of early Buddhism, which is still widely used by Tibetan and East Indian Buddhists today. Vasubandhu, along with his half-brother Asanga, began to question aspects of Sarvastivadin teaching, which presented an analysis of all aspects and factors of experience broken down into their constituent parts called dharmas. So the term dharma in this way is used in the Heart Sutra, which we chant every day. The line, all dharmas are empty, or all dharmas are without boundary. They do not appear nor disappear. That sentence of the Heart Sutra represents a radical departure from early Buddhist teachings, setting up the teaching of emptiness or boundarylessness of the Mahayana tradition. Indian philosophical tradition is very deep and very old and not easy to grasp from the viewpoint of Western philosophical tradition. So suffice it to say that a lot of discussion focused on whether or not the components of things, that is to say, dharmas, have existence or not. Mahayana takes a strong stand that there is no self, no enduring moment of existence to anything at all. Vasubandhu converted to Mahayana, perhaps influenced by his brother Asanga. He began composing Yogacara treatises, including the one we'll look at today, Vasubandhu's Three Natures, which is the last of his works on yoga in the Yogacara tradition. The Venerable Vasubandhu died at age 100, it is said, while visiting Nepal. So Yogacara is one of the two Indian Buddhist traditions that form the basis of Zen. The other tradition is Madhyamaka, whose primary founder was Nagarjuna. And that's who I mentioned before, because in school, I was working on doing some translation of Nagarjuna, I remember. I was very young. As you probably know, Zen or Chan flourished in China and beyond. Take, for example, here. It flourishes here. Yogacara is sometimes called the mind-only or the consciousness-only school of Buddhism. And those terms can be misleading because of the way our language works. That is, the term mind-only sounds like it means Yogacharans do not believe anything exists outside of mind. It sounds like an assertion of belief of a particular cosmology, of not believing there is anything other than mind. It doesn't mean that. Buddhist teaching is not a cosmology. It is not a belief or an assertion of what reality is or how reality works. Buddhism is a religion, and as such is concerned with alleviating suffering, period. That's it. So, while I don't know what is out there, whatever that means to me or anyone else, I see with the eyes I see that which my eyes allow me to see. That I know. I see with the eyes that have evolved in human beings and have been inherited by this body. That I know. We all probably know that our eyes can mislead us. Sometimes around twilight, I might see a fallen limb or a rock and think I'm seeing a dog or a wild turkey. And my whole body is on board with what I think I see, but don't in fact see. We know from chanting the Heart Sutra that in Buddhism, mind is lined up with the other senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So if my eyes can see what is not there, because my mind has hopped in and overridden my eyes, how much more self-deception are we prone to through our analytical, conceptual, storytelling mind running amok? Well, I don't know about you, but for me, quite a bit. And this is why our practice is centered in the body, in the senses at this moment, including mind, not so much in the engaged intellect or imagination. Just as we know that when we're upset, it can help to lower our eyes, take some deep breaths, give ourselves some space and some time, and then we can restore ourselves. We can calm down. So we spend time each day just present in this body, with this breath, in this place, with these people. This is how we restore our Buddhahood, our sense of location, our humanity, our belonging, of worthiness, or of heartbreak. Whatever opens to us in this moment is inhabited by our presence in this body. the more we do this, the less we will be caught off guard, the less we will be knocked off our feet, the less we will be enraged and hurt, wrapped up in me, myself, and mine. So we place our trust in this moment of this body, in this place. Vasubandhu's Yogacara writing on three natures offers what we call in education scaffolding for understanding our true nature, which is compassion, which leaves nothing behind. Our true nature is compassion, which leaves nothing behind. In Vasubandhu's three natures, the first verse of the 38 verses goes like this. The imaginary, dependent, and complete realized natures, the wise say these three are what is known as profound. So we have the three natures. Each, Ben has chosen words corresponding to his best understanding of what they are in Sanskrit. And the words are imaginary, dependent, and complete. What I really appreciate about this first stanza is that it does not lay out those three natures as in order of better to best, in order of accomplishment, in order of anything at all. These are our three human natures, all of us. And this is what we have to work with in our human life. So if I say elephant, each of us will conjure an image, an experience of elephant in the present, generated by past images and experiences of elephant. This elephant that I speak of is imaginary. It is the first of the three natures. And it is personal to each of us. It is specific to each of us. If an elephant walked into the Zendo right now, or whatever room you're in right now, each of us would have a visceral experience of elephant that Vasubandhu would also say is imaginary, because it would likely be a melding of prior memories, habits of visual and emotional response, etc., with immediate perception and response to perception. For example, maybe fear, maybe excitement. Maybe some of us would feel we are in the presence of Buddha, and others would be paralyzed by fear. Probably depends on the size of the elephant. Who knows? The dependent nature, the second nature, is the elephant. The second nature of elephant would be perceiving its interdependence of the elephant as an animal, a moment of life resulting from causes and conditions which are not elephant, manifesting right here before me, with my own full array of imaginary elephant history. So the second nature, which we're calling dependent, is, we can say, is interdependent, the interdependency of each and everything. The complete realized nature, that is, which is the third nature, is just this moment of elephant, with humility and awe, the sense of not knowing, of opening to this, the perfection that is already present in each moment, the sense that everything just as it is perfect. Perfect because it is just as it is. These are the three natures that comprise our human experience moment after moment, according to Vasubandhu's treatise on the three natures. And so we can see from these three natures, as I said before, they're not like graded in better to best or anything like that. Our work here is not about self-improvement. It is about seeing our true nature of imaginary, of dependent, and complete in every moment. Our work is accepting how things are and is seeing how things are and refraining from actions that tend toward harm of others and ourselves. Ben Connolly tells us that the first and third natures, imaginary and complete, compare somewhat to form and emptiness, or form and boundlessness, to relative and absolute, and the dependent nature to interdependence and interbeing in Thich Nhat Hanh's term. And this is helpful because otherwise we're kind of floundering around with three ideas that don't, up until now, bear any relation to what we know about Buddhism, but they actually do bear a relation. Especially relative and absolute are really interesting because they are, we have the wonderful poem called the merging of relative and absolute. I can't remember how Upaya translates it. I don't think it's quite like that. But it's a whole poem about how we live in relative and absolute. We are not trying in our practice to go after absolute and dismiss relative. That's not what we're doing here. There is this interaction of the two. And that is where the beauty and the vitality of our life lies. So, according to Yogacara, as with Buddhist tradition in general, we verify these teachings through our own experience of meditation, through ethical action, through conversation with each other, including those with more experience, and through our return to aspiration for liberation from suffering. So here we have an invitation to enter into a practice that gives us a language and a framework through which to examine our human life. You know, we don't have much in the way of training wheels or scaffolding in Zen. We don't really have a user's manual or book of step-by-step instructions. Maybe this is because we're stubborn. Maybe it's because we're creative and independent people. Who knows? Maybe this is because we observe the danger of dependency, the danger of mistaking the bicycle for the road, the danger of believing in progress and improvement in spiritual practice. I don't know. The danger we are perceiving in those cases is like the danger of engaging the greed muscle in order to overcome greed. You may have noticed that the basic nature that gives rise to greed is perceiving self and other, in which self and other are different, and which I want something that is other so that I can feel whole in myself, or something like that. Our greed muscle is usually in tip-top shape because we use it all the time. Just in the perception of self and other, and all the interactions that emerge from that perception, all the feelings that emerge from that perception. Anxiety about not getting enough, aggression toward other that seems to pose a threat, for example. Zen meditation, I think, seeks to give the greed muscle a rest, leave it alone. This is difficult to do, to even notice how quickly we flex the greed muscle. Like when we're sitting and feel some opening or calm in our meditation, we might notice a thought like, oh, this is great, I want more of this. How did I do this? And how can I get some more of it? In Zen meditation, over time, we can learn to see that thought as just a thought. Not me, not me, just a thought, like a cloud passing through. Because engaging such thoughts divide me into two separate me's, I can learn to refrain from engaging that thought. Yogacara is the origin of shikantaza. The word Dogen uses for our practice of just sitting. Yogacara is the theory behind Bodhidharma's words to Emperor Wu of Liang. Remember that conversation? Emperor Wu asked Bodhidharma at the end of the conversation, "Who is before me?" And Bodhidharma answered, "I don't know." Because I can't know I as an object. For me to know me separates me as an object from me as a subject. And that is not what I do in my practice. So Bodhidharma says, I don't know. I can't know I as an object. I can't know the person you are looking at. Bodhidharma, of course, is the first Zen ancestor in China who taught the Lankavatara Sutra, which draws from Yogacara. Shikantaza is a Japanese term interpreted by Dogen as just sitting, which he learned from his Chinese teacher Rujing, who taught silent illumination that we know from Zen Chinese teacher Hongzhi, whose work we studied 1 year ago during spring practice period. So the silent illumination tradition, the Shikantaza tradition, which comes to us, comes through Yogacara. Dogen writes in the Fukanza Zengi, take the backward step and turn the light inward. Your body-mind of itself will drop off and your original face will appear. If you want to attain just this, immediately practice just this. So this is, I think you all know this from the Fukanza Zengi, if you've been hanging around anything Zen for very long. It's a really foundational and incredibly beautiful piece of writing. And it makes this point that is so hard for us to catch a glimpse of, that we already are everything we want to be. We already, enlightenment, Buddhahood is already here. We are not chasing after something that we do not already have. How could that be? How could that be possible? What we are doing is taking a look at the human habits that we have inherited from ancient times, from our families, from our communities, from our cultures. We are taking these habits that we have noticed tend to cover up that which is enlightened about us. tend to cover us up. We're taking these habits and bit by bit, letting them fall away through our practice. That's what our practice is. It's an uncovering process. It is not an acquiring process. We, semantically, we might say, I acquire understanding, but the actual physicality, the actual human experience is not of acquisition. It is of uncovering and recognizing something that we always already knew. That is what all the Buddhas and ancestors have always told us. We are uncovering that which we already are. So that is when Dogen says, if you want to attain just this, immediately practice just this. Just be this. It's right there already. And what we tend to do is, oh no, I can't do it right now. I haven't figured out how to, really sit properly on my cushion. I feel all twisted, and so I have to do that first. We have this habitual process of how we're going to go about things in a step-by-step manner. And this practice, it certainly is repetitive over, like you heard, I've been doing this for over 50 years. Certainly is repetitive, but it's not, but I haven't acquired a thing. I haven't acquired a thing over time, except, I'm getting old. I've acquired some aches and pains, but other than that, I haven't acquired a thing from this practice. I have let go of things through this practice. So that's the kind of language. It's very hard to translate that language and make it clear. It sounds kind of trivial and trite sometimes to even say we are already Buddha. Like, okay, well, that's nice, but I'm not feeling it. That's kind of where we're at. Well, you know what? Buddhahood is not a feeling. If we wait around for a feeling, feelings are just like the weather. They come and go. Feelings come, feelings go. Good feelings, bad feelings, they come and go. That's their nature. So for us to, carry the commitment that enlightenment and Buddhahood must be a feeling that I'm going to get, like a really good feeling, that tends to stand in our way. The feeling that we already have, whatever it is, we are bigger than we can possibly imagine. We, as Walt Whitman says, I contain multitudes. What does he say? Do I contradict myself? Ah, yes, I contradict myself. I contain multitudes. That is our realization. Not so much a kind of an improvement project. Anyway, let's get back to what I was saying, if you don't mind. So in the Fukan Zazengi, I'll read this again. Take the backward step and turn the light inward. Your body mind of itself will drop off, and your original face will appear. If you want to attain just this, immediately practice just this. So in this description, Dogen completely bypasses subject-verb-object thinking. That is, I must do this to achieve the change I want. There is no subject, I, separate from this moment of practice just this. Just merge with exactly this. Our language doesn't handle these directions very well. Even so, we all have experiential reference outside of language, that direct presence direct experience is the ground of our practice. And just as the earth is our shared ground, supporting all things, living and non-living, just as the earth is our shared ground, supporting all things living and non-living, just this practice is the shared ground of love and compassion, supporting all things living and non-living. From the viewpoint of practice and from the viewpoint of life, our presence, interconnected and alone, is grounded and true. Our differences are a fantasy. So it looks like my talk was short. I never know how long my talk will be. Could it be possible to have a question or a comment, Kuro?
So, Kathie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it'd be wonderful if anybody wants to raise their hand in the spring practice period Zoom. We've got 70 people there. And if you want to in the Zendo, you can raise your hand and I think we'll be able to make that happen as well. But thank you for that talk, Kathie, and for giving us another look into Vasubandhu's mind. Of course, a lifetime of work. And I think you might know that next week we get to sit with Ben Connolly, who will go in more depth into his work.
Oh, good. Good. So let's see, put on gallery. Okay. I don't see any hands.
Yes. Ah, Marilia Librandi. Okay, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm following the practice online as I can. And what a beautiful talk. Thank you so much. So clarifying. My question is not directly related to the text, but maybe to the three natures you just explained it, imaginary, dependent, and complete. And it's related to past experiences in our life. So, for example, I'm giving an example like I had a friend when I was in high school. I don't see her anymore. I have no news about her, but I lived there. Where is that? In the imaginary?
That is, as far as I understand, and you'll have to ask Ben next week. As far as I understand, that's imaginary because the friend that you had in high school, the memory is in the present. You know, the present. You brought it up just now, so it's in the present for you. It's in your heart and mind in the present. It comes up in different ways, and it has an effect on you in the present, not in that you can't touch the past. You just live in the present. But we have, a whole lifetime of memories and experiences. And as we know, a particular relationship or experience that we've had in the past can keep coming up and affecting us in the present in a way that, we're not so happy about, right? Or the opposite, we can feel the gift of someone that we knew long ago over and over again. And that's imaginary. I think this is something to ask Ben when he comes next week. To me, imaginary does not have a value. It's not like, since it's imaginary, it's less valuable. It is a completely functioning reality for the human heart and mind. We carry our memories and we carry our experiences in our bodies and in our minds in all kinds of ways.
Thank you so much.
I see Lynn. Lynn, you're muted. There.
Okay. Thank you, Kathie. It was a wonderful and enlightening talk. And I learned a lot. I'm curious about, you said that Vasubandhu Yogacara is, there are two main foundations that have influenced Zen, and the other one is Nagarjuna. And I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about Nagarjuna, since it was an area of study for you. What's that area of influence for Zen?
So Nagarjuna he was actually, he lived before Vasubandhu, maybe in the 1st century, really, really old. And he was an incredibly brilliant Buddhist. I mean, anyone that we know about 2,000 years later was a very influential person and undoubtedly brilliant in their time. So Nagarjuna was a philosopher. He was a Buddhist priest, but also a philosopher. And Buddhist philosophy was very, very developed in India. Philosophy in general is very developed in India in a really different way than in the West. So to study it is to kind of learn a different language. And he wrote these wonderful poems refuting the belief in that something exists. So the debate with the Madhyamikas was, does it exist? Does it not exist? Does it both exist and not exist? Does it neither exist nor not exist? And so he would take a look at each of those 4 possibilities and say, well, no, 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 and no. To make a long story short, he is the Madhyamaka school in Nagarjuna brought us what we call the middle way. The middle way sounds like it's a compromise between 2 extremes or something like that, but it is not. The middle way is the dynamic, always active activity that does not take a stand here and does not take a stand here. The middle way is what later became, I think, in Zen, what we say not knowing. I think not knowing is another way of stating the middle way. Not knowing, like, it's dynamic, it's open. So that's what the middle way is, and that's what not knowing is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he was...
Sorry, like a paradox.
In language, a lot of these things in language is paradoxical. And there are, Buddhist traditions like Madhyamaka and like the Koan traditions are, the tradition has a lot to do with cornering ourselves in a paradox of language in order to kind of break through and see that none of that even made sense. It's a little different from what the Soto Zen tradition, which is where I come from, does, but that the paradox of, you know, belief, 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 and then getting caught in that paradox can be a powerful thing. And that was what Nagarjuna's work did. I don't know if
Thank
you
you
want
so
that much information, but that's what you got.
It's wonderful.
Sensei Kathie, thank you so much for that beautiful talk and those couple questions. Can you see me where you are? I'm
No,
not sure which
you're-
direction I am. All right, I'll come up. I was just thinking about something that Roshi sometimes reflects when talking to a friend who was a quantum physicist, where everything you said, I felt like, yeah, that just makes so much sense. And then if somebody asked me later, could you explain Kathie's talk? I'd be like, no, I really can't. So thank you for putting the profound teachings into a way that made sense, at least to the part of me that can't explain things. So,
well, email me and I'll tell you.
you'll just be, thank you. Appreciate that. Always such a pleasure to sit with you, Kathie, and hear your teachings on these wonderful texts. And look forward to next time you can be with us.
Yes, so do I. And thank you so much for inviting me. And just thank you for your practice, everyone online and in the Upaya Zendo. And I look forward to being with you soon.
Thank you, Kathie.
Well in your practice.
So just, we're doing this a little bit backwards, but a couple announcements and then we'll chant the 4 vows. This weekend, we've got a couple things going on simultaneously. One is the practice period continues and we have a Zazenkai on Saturday. So a full day of sitting from 6 in the morning to 9 at night. Please come and join us. There'll be a talk as well on Vasubandhu. And then at the same time, we've got our online grace training. So for those of you who are online, or if you would prefer to do that, even if you're here, unless you're in the practice period, you can't do it. But the grace training with Roshi Joan and Diane Wendy Lau and Tony Bach and Cinda Rushton is an incredible way of bringing this practice into the world in a way that you can really use in many forms to engage. So thank you all so much for your presence. We have dinner tonight if you'd like to join, broccoli soup and bread. Please come, and we'll end with the 4 vows.
Creations are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to transform them.
residents, please restore the Zendo.